Hi, my name is Ayomide. Welcome to the World Without People podcast, where we journey into some pretty amazing stories of everyday people. I believe strongly in the interconnectedness of our human experience, that we can color and enrich our lives by sharing and learning from our lived experiences. In this concise 30 minutes podcast, I bring to you engaging conversations like a chapter in a vibrant book designed to motivate and encourage and challenge and, of course, brighten your day. My guests also get to ask me one question, and there's no telling what they might come up with. So thank you for tuning in. Grab your coffee or tea or listen on the go to some amazing stories of real people. After all, what is a world without people? Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today for the second episode. If you joined me 2 weeks ago, I'm glad you're back. I appreciate you and I hope you brought along a friend. If you're just listening for the first time, welcome to the community, people. You definitely want to go back to listen to the first episode to catch the gems that my guest Olu Ogunlela dropped. Olu shared with us how chronic burnout pushed him to start his business Life Rhythms and why it is extremely important to track our time, including time spent with loved ones and on or with technology. He also broke down our lives into 10 facets and why planning our activities and goals with them in mind will help us experience less burnout, achieve our goals, and attain optimum well being. This is all predicated on the essential morning routine that serves as the fuel you need for each day. And finally, he shares how having the right systems to achieve our goals is handicapped by not having the right mindset and the right story. I think I did a pretty good recap, but I implore you to listen for yourself as there is so much packed into less than 30 minutes, which is why today we conclude our conversation with Olu. I'm not going to give you any hints. I'm hoping that I've whet your appetite to get more, but trust me when I say it's good. Plus, listen for Olu's question to me and my response. Let's jump right in. This might be a little bit controversial, but I'm sure you know who Tom Brady is, right? And if you've heard the story over the past, 1 year, he had retired and there was common knowledge that he knew like his family, his wife had been saying, I need you to come home. You've done enough. And then he decided to come back. And in the midst of that, then got the divorce and everything. Now, we don't know chicken or egg, right? We don't know what led to the other or whatever. But I think from the question I'm trying to draw out here is that I do get that sense with a lot of people who are high achievers. They can't indeed put that balance, like you're saying with stories. That was important enough for him to still go back and maybe have lost his family, right? So how do you talk to people who are high achievers? And, I'm a Nigerian, you are Nigerian, and I'm sure a lot of Africans who will be listening to this, we're high achievers. We're just wired that way. How do we create that balance?
So everything boils down to priorities, right? What could have happened is that maybe it just built a lot. His habits and his identity was really so glued to the game that he ended up putting his identity before his family, And that's why I say sometimes our mindset is to change. We need to have a wholeness mentality where it's not just one facet of your life is important, but the entire thing. We need to start looking at ourselves as a complete being, not just your work, not just your relationship, not just, whatever you define yourself by, And that's why I usually tell a lot of people is that you need to become aware of the life facets and really think about, what kind of life do I really want for myself? And many times when people slow down enough to, become aware of their current situation and think about, don't let me think about just tomorrow or just next week or just next year. Let me think about the entirety of my life, right? What do I want to look back and say, these are the things I accomplished or these are the things I experienced? Once we do that, we will see that sometimes we bring up relationships, we bring up giving back, we bring up some of those things that from a long-term perspective, those things are important, but from a right now perspective, those things are not priorities, So we need to start looking at our lives like an architect trying to build a home. The architect knows that the bedroom, you can't just build a bedroom and call it a home. You have to build the entire home. Yes, the bedroom might have extra features and might be the most fancy room in the house, but there must be an home, So that's how we need to see our life, right? I know I want to be a, American football player, and I want to be the best at it in the world. But you need to also remember that, yes, this is the most fanciest room in my life, but all these other areas are important. So I need to find a way to find balance. And once you have it in your mindset that this is what I want, it's almost like the universe kind of like help us or aid us toward achieving what we desire, right? So once we put it on the plate, it becomes something that eventually happens due to our effort, due to our subconscious mind, due to universe, whatever, due to God, whatever you want to call it, But once it's on the plate, it happens. But once it's not on the plate, it doesn't happen. So you need to put it on the plate. You need to go back to the grand plan and say, these are the 10 facets, all these are important. This is the season of my life I'm in right now. These are the priorities, but I'm not going to neglect these areas. When I'm done with this season, now it's this season, these are the priorities. I'm not going to ignore these other areas. And many times people live life where they are focusing on one area, and when it's time to now move, it's difficult because they have never pictured their life in those areas. So when they're now struggling to now move around, they are neglecting the area that was once doing fine. And as a result, it's almost like you're juggling balls, So what I was just saying is that basically you need to bring all those things on the table, all 10 life facets, prioritize for the season you're in, but never lose sight of all the different areas. So that way you can always find ways to make, to kind of like build the lifestyle you want, more on a long-term basis than just on a short-term basis. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that, again, for me, and I hope for everybody who's going to be listening, that's awesome to plan our year, right? Because yes, you probably already neglected half of your resolutions. Maybe it's time to just sit down and get, put together your 10 facets, like you said, put it on the plate, and then prioritize. All right, you talk a lot about books. You have this lifestyle of reading about 52 books a year. But I know you listen rather than read books, right? So there's two questions there. Why do you think that is important? And I definitely always prefer a physical copy, but I don't want to switch to audio because I'm like, that's not my thing. So how do you encourage people who prefer a physical copy to switch to audio? Because obviously the part of the joy of physical copies, at least for me, is that you can write, you can underline all of that stuff. But how can people, again, neglect that for the higher purpose of gaining the information that we need to gain?
For me, we're in a fast-paced society now. It's like things are coming and going fast, rapidly, right? And there are many times that multitasking is effective. So when you're doing a low mental task and you're doing a high mental task, right? So a lot of people say, convert your drive time to class time, right? Driving, for most part, is a semi-low mental task. You have driven many times before, many times you're going to work, is using taking the same route and stuff. It's almost automatic. So you can listen to a book while, driving to work. It's difficult for you to read a physical book print while driving. So at the end of the day, you will see that you have opportunities where you can, read audiobooks more than where you can do, paper books. You can be washing dishes, listen to audiobooks. You can be doing your laundry, listen to audiobook. And do, there's so many things. You can be in the grocery store, shopping, listen to audiobooks. And that way you realize that you can actually cover more ground than just doing paper book. A lot of people have that mental block. It goes back to mindset again, that, I'm not a audio book person, but many times that person doesn't try to read 5 to 10 audiobooks. I know people who were not audiobook person, but I told them that, you know what, you need to give it time like anything else. It's like riding a bike. You're not just going to take a bike the first day and expect to be a pro at it. You need to give it time, And many of those people gave it more time. And now, guess what? They're like, Lu, thanks for not giving up on me. I'm now an audio person and stuff. Again, go back to the story and our mindset. What we tell ourselves sometimes enable us not to even try enough to achieve the goals in that area. So just like you say you're a night person, you need to say, I'm an audiobook person and give it a try.
I'm an audiobook person.
And give it a try, like 5 books, 10 books. try to do shorter
Okay.
books, maybe like a book, a 3 hours book or less. So that way it doesn't go on and
Mm-hmm.
on. You get the whole gist of the book in about 3 hours, which may be 3 days if you do an hour a day, and that's it. So give it some time and it gets better. Another thing I say that a lot of people say, oh, I read paper books because of vocabulary. I want to be able to see the words and then you want the stuff. You can combine audiobook, print book, right? So
Mm.
Amazon owns Audible, and Amazon has print books, as
Right.
you're aware of that. They start with books, and Audible is audio. So there's something called Whisper Sync that you can actually buy one
Right.
book and you get the print and the audio version. So while you're listening to the book, the thing is kind of like moving on the print book. I think the Bible app has it. I don't know if you have used the audio version of the Bible app that kind of
Okay.
like goes through when
Yeah,
you're
I
listening
do.
to it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I get what
So
you
it kind
mean
of
now.
like
Yeah.
follows you and stuff. So that way, when you're
Right.
driving, you can, what I call it, just listen when you're at home and like, oh, I remember there are some parts that I wanted to go back to. You can go back on the actual, print version, which is obviously the ebook on your iPad or your
Mm.
Kindle reader and stuff. And now go back and highlight and learn the words and do
Okay.
whatever you need to do, with the books. Another thing I like to say on the whole audio book is I usually realize there are two kinds of books. There are educative books and they're like books that are more like stories, right? So an autobiography is almost like a
Mm-hmm.
story. You are likely not going to have to go and
Right.
label so many things in the autobiography, right? You're just
Right.
learning about the person's life and the significant
Right.
decisions they made in different aspects or seasons of their life, and you're just learning about that. And maybe some things that you might want to highlight are not much. But there are some books that are like almost like a self-help to-do book. That do this, then do this, then do this. Those kind of book you need to highlight and potentially go back to. So usually you
Right.
might not even know which book falls into any of those categories until you start listening to it. So many times I listen to a
Right.
book completely as audio. Then after I'm done listening, I'm like, wow, this is a wealth of information. I need to buy the e-version or the print version. And then I buy those ones and I now use that to go back and do a second read and really, really get out from the book. So these are just reasons why I think basically I'm advocating to yourself and the listeners that you should give audiobook a try. Imagine reading 52 books every year. You are learning so much, and those things are going to transform your life almost immediately and for years to come. So instead of you saying,
Right.
I'm going to read a paper book and you just don't find the time and you end up reading only one book or no book in the year, in the whole 52 weeks, just because of you never found that time versus if we did audiobooks and you
Right.
did, 12 a year, which is once a month, or like me, 52 a year, which is one each week. So I don't know if I answered all your questions in regards to that, but yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that is, you are the person I saw the quote that I've been holding to recently, even though I don't think I'm there yet, where it has said something to us, the effect of not reading a good book is, I'm
Okay.
paraphrasing now. It's basically the idea that not reading a good book is paramount to not reading at all. And that really struck me because, I mean, I'm going to confess, what I usually read was
Okay.
novels. Like, novels for me were the things that distressed me. They took me away from high
Mm-hmm.
achieving stuff, which was work, trying to get a PhD, all of that stuff. So then all I needed was a novel. Like, I could sit down and, throughout the weekend and just read 10, like
Oh,
just
wow.
go, like not do anything, not even eat, like just read novels or whatever. But the challenge for me has now been reading some of these better books, like you're saying. And I think you've kind of given myself and everybody who's listening a good, not just a reason, but really how we should go about this. And I think that's awesome. Thank you very much.
I actually think reading fiction is okay and stuff. It obviously helps us learn different aspects of life, and they are good. It's better than not reading at all. But obviously, it's always also good to spend time reading some of those self-help books or autobiographies of amazing men or women. That's if that's your thing. If you are someone that wants to maximize your potential, sometimes you want to learn from those who have done the same and kind of like learn about their
Right.
journey. Sometimes even if it's just knowing that all the amazing people you admire all went through challenges and all overcame those challenges. Just even knowing that overcoming challenges is the default for anyone trying to be successful. So when you're going to your own challenges,
Right.
guess what? I've read all the amazing people that I admire a lot. They all went through challenges. why won't I go through my own challenges? So this is my own challenges and I need to overcome them. So not even knowing that's possible, because sometimes you experience stuff and you think, oh, why me? Why me? It's like, it's almost like it's only happening to you. But guess what? If you're read and you know that it has happened to almost everybody you admired, and you're trying to be like, you are more in a better state to say, you know what, I'm gonna conquer this thing, just like, you know, my mentors or my role models did, you know. So yeah, that's that.
So I'm going to deviate from my questions because of what you just said. Even when it can seem very similar, we really cannot fit in each other's shoes. It's just life. We can't fit exactly. We can fit, but maybe not exactly. So how do people go through that? How do you encourage people?
I think challenges are different. It's a default, right? Yes, the experiences might be different, but it's all the same. Like, it's almost like the world is trying to test you to really see if you really want it, you know. Sometimes it might not be the route you're meant to take, and that's why you're experiencing difficulties.
Right.
And many times it's difficult to know the difference. But obviously we usually figure out a way to know, and the universe has a way of redirecting us if something doesn't work for so long and you realize, you know what, this is not my husband, you know, this guy's been slapping me, this is me, you know, for example, that, you know, and you're like, you know, I love him, I will do whatever it takes and stuff, but sometimes it's just not the right person for you, you know? So it's difficult. I want to say that it's difficult to say sometimes if a challenge is something, a redirection, or if a challenge is just testing you before you get to where you need to get to, right? That I can't really say much about. You know, we just usually figure out a way to know the difference and move. But I know, just based on my experience, that everyone goes through challenges. And if we have that mindset, back to mindset, that a challenge is, I think that was a what I call it, a quote I read earlier, that pressure is a privilege. Just like, you know, the metal has to go through fire to be remolded to something beautiful. It's we need to start looking at it as something that's actually helping us to become a better version of ourselves. So we need to change our mindset in how we see some of the challenges to ensure that we push furthermore to at least know if that's the right place, if that's really what we want to be doing, whatever it is. And if it is, we need to just keep persisting. You know, we hear stories like Thomas Edison trying the light bulb 1,000 times, or is it 10,000 times? And even just thinking about the numbers, like, wow, really? You're trying to build, and that's persistent. You know, sometimes in life, that's what it takes, you know. So we just need to keep pushing. I don't have a mindset that, you know what, whatever challenges I'm going through, sometimes these challenges are yet to make me better. So let me just keep pushing further, and I will eventually get there. Yeah.
Okay, we've talked a lot about quotes. What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quotes, I have a lot of good ones. I'm one of those people that used to, you know, them and keep them somewhere and stuff like that. But I'm trying to see which one is my favorite quote right now that comes to mind right now. I think likely the one I just mentioned, which is pressure is a privilege. I've been going through challenging couple of months, you know, and you know, I just got married, just moved into our new place, and so many different things. Thanks a lot, so many different things. And just hearing that quote has made me realize that, you know what, I need to change my perspective with how I see challenges, and you know, it's basically pressure, you know, and those pressure are here to make us better. So let's just keep pushing, and we'll look back and say, wow, I'm actually thankful that I went through that, because with that, without that experience, I would likely have not been able to achieve some of the things I'm going through right now, you know. So if you're trying to be a billionaire like myself, or build $1 billion company like myself, sometimes I look back and I'm like, you know what, I definitely need some of these things, because I'm going to be in some $10 million, $100 million problem situations that I will need to overcome. That if I don't overcome those situations, I will not get to 1 billion, you know. So I need to have that mindset that these things are friends, and embrace them, and kind of like, you know, right through it and stuff. And right now we might be going through a recession and stuff. And many of these things, this is not the first time that, you know, the world economy is going through a recession, you know. We just need to use this time to reflect, reinvest in ourselves instead of investing in some of the traditional investments, and know that whatever it is, we're going to overcome it, you know. It all starts with the mind.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right. My last question from over here, at least. I have a list of 8 open-minded people we need in our lives, and I'm wondering which one you are. So just shout it at me if you hear the one that is you. So one is the listener, the optimist, the practical motivator, the brutally honest, the inspirer, the challenger, the empathizer, is that how you say that? And the accountability partner.
I think I'm a couple of them. I would say more accountability partner than optimist. Those were the two. I was yeah.
That's what I would have said.
And I think for
That's
me,
what I
just
would have
because
said.
I'm a coach, right? I think, aside from, being as in coaching people, I think I'm a coach. I think I have a good sense.
Right.
I'm an observer in the sense that I can look at a person, I can look at a situation, I can see what's going on, and I can basically offer advice based on what I'm seeing. And I think that just makes me keep people accountable. I think I have a way of drilling down to finding out what's important for someone, and now coming back to that person, I'm like, I know it's important to you, but you're doing A, B, C, and that's not, that's not some of the things you should be doing. Or I know that this is what I'm trying to achieve, and you're doing, DEF, which are the things you should be doing. I'm like, man, I'm proud of you. Well done, man. You keep doing it.
Right.
So I think, definitely, I say more of in recent years, I've been more of a accountability partner. But before I kind of like discovered my coaching instinct and abilities, I think I was very much an optimist. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Before I continue, where can people find you? And it's just your name, right? Olu Ogunlola on LinkedIn.
Olu on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram, Olu_Ogunlola, on Twitter, Olu Ogunlola as well. And I'm sure if you search Olu Ogunlola on Google, it's going to bring up all the social media platforms that I am on, and you can reach out to me or connect with me in any of them. Yeah.
So one thing I want to do with the show is give guests an opportunity to ask me one question, just one. So do you have any questions?
Okay. Thanks again for choosing me as the first guest on your show.
Yay.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you for accepting.
Makes me know that you put me on the eye regard in regards to what you're doing and things like that. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
What is your long-term plan for the podcast? I'm sure your viewers or your listeners would love to know too. Where do you see this in the next 5 years, the next 10 years? What kind of impact you want this to be in people's lives, in their career or their personal lives? What is the main aim and the long-term vision for this podcast and what you're doing?
Wow, that was supposed to be one question, but you asked me like five.
It's one question with babies, you know how you have examination question 1, 1A, right. 1B, 1C, 1D.
B, C, D, E. No, I think it's a brilliant question, and obviously one I've been working through the past couple months. You just said what's the impact you want, and funny enough, that's my word for the year, impact. One thing I'm very passionate about is mentoring people. Like you said, I've kind of been like a pseudo coach. So one thing I'm passionate about is just helping people win in life. I've had so many struggles that I don't want to see people go through. And I'm hoping that through these conversations, one, I learn, like I've learned a lot today that I'm going to put into practice, and then everybody else is on that journey with me. So we can almost kind of form a community of doers, right? Of people who are listening and doing, right? We become a people who are changing lives. And one thing I mentioned is mentoring, right? So I personally think that we should not only just think of ourselves as getting a mentor to mentor us. We also should be mentoring people. And so through this, I'm hoping that people get that, drive, that energy to be able to mentor. In 2 to 5 years, I'm hoping that, again, like I said, we've had a great community. We're able to kind of take this outside of what might be just a virtual thing, but even outside into the real world, through community activities and things like that. Again, other people starting to find their own purpose, starting to find their own wins. Mindsets have changed. I really, one of the reasons why I wanted you to be my first guest is because, like I said, people are going to be able to kind of use this to set up themselves for the rest of the year. No matter how late it is, you can just say that today is the start of my year and be able to make that happen. So yeah, with that said, thank you so much. Oh, I forgot to call you by your name, the lifestyle architect or life architect, is that how you call it?
Like architect, life architect.
Yeah. Life architect. Love it. Obviously, everybody go find Olu, connect to the Lively app. Thank you so
Welcome.
much. I appreciate it. And I look forward to just our journeys. Thank you for joining me in today's episode. Just like you'll tell someone about a great book you read, please don't forget to share this if you enjoyed it. Connect on IG and Twitter at TWWPcast and get details on the website at worldwithoutpeople.org. And hey, remember to make loving others the story of your life. Until next time, this is The World Without People.